Welcome back to State of the Nation tonight on GB News with me, Matt Goodwin. Now, Epsom and St Helier University Hospitals NHS Trust, the trust that suspended a nurse for calling a transgender paedophile Mr. rather than Mrs., has been accused of ignoring the Equality and Human Rights Commission's official guidance following the Supreme Court ruling that determined that the terms man and woman are biological. An internal statement from Victoria Smith, the Group Chief People Officer of the NHS Trust, was leaked, which said this: while we await further national guidance on any practical implications of the court's ruling, our commitment remains unchanged. Inclusion isn't just a value we talk about, it's something we live through our policies, our practice, and the way we treat one another every day. Well, I'm joined now by Andrea Williams, Chief Executive of the Christian Legal Centre, which is representing the suspended nurse, as well as my panel, Commissioning Editor at The Spectator, Lara Brown, and Contributing Editor at Novara Media, Michael Walker. Andrea, what is it that people out there need to know about this case? Because for me, looking at it from the outside, you are intimately involved with it, so I'm going to defer to your expertise. But for me, it looks like another case of a taxpayer-funded public institution, an NHS trust, refusing to follow the implications of the Supreme Court judgment.
That's exactly what is happening. It's 1 year, almost to the day, that Jennifer Melle, a well-seasoned nurse, she'd been on the wards, frontline nursing, never really a complaint against her, loved her job, had come over from Uganda, had said she just thrived in that situation, single mum, loved being on the wards. That night, senior nurse, there was a prisoner who was attached to prison guards and chains, who came in that night. He was very volatile. He started lunging at her when he overheard her referring to him as a man.
Right.
She was actually prepared to
This is a trans person.
Yes, he is a trans man. He'd been convicted of paedophile offences where he'd pretended to be a woman in order to lure young boys.
Right.
But
so she referred to him as a he,
yes,
using the wrong pronouns or whatever. And what then happened?
Well, then he, when he heard that, he lunged after her. But the extraordinary thing about all of this is that she was the one that then came under investigation. She was moved from that ward. She was, in effect, demoted. And then later on, for telling her story about what has happened, after we found her a role within the trust, she was then essentially... she's currently suspended, right, because it said that she spoke to the media and therefore breached confidentiality, which of course she hadn't done at all. Okay. So that's the kind of thing that's now being levelled at her.
And so why is the trust refusing to see the changing wider national context? Because this is the million-dollar question for me. We had the UK Supreme Court judgment. You know, the debate has been won as far as the courts and the legal system are concerned. So why are we still on this show talking about NHS trusts and other organisations every other week or so refusing to change their internal policies and practices to reflect what the Equality Commission and others are saying is this new reality? Why are they not saying, well, OK, we got it wrong with this nurse, sorry, she should be reinstated, have the job back? What's happened to these institutions?
Well, you've seen there the statement from Victoria.
It's remarkable.
Yes, it's an absolutely extraordinary statement when the Supreme Court judgment is absolutely clear. Biological sex is real. Biological sex matters. Men are men, women are women, and there should be spaces for them.
Michael Walker, that statement, our commitment remains unchanged. Why are the institutions not adapting to the UK Supreme Court judgment?
I suppose they're waiting for advice from NHS England. I don't know why that advice wouldn't have come already.
Well, the Equality and Human Rights Commission has issued advice, so why aren't they responding to that?
I suppose some legal people disagree with that. I'm not sure. I'm not a lawyer. I suppose my assessment on this is I do think that the position that the EHRC have told everyone is one that isn't going to societally hold. Because what I think is that campaigners like yourself, who, all due respect, you're from a sort of evangelical Christian organisation. I think before you were campaigning on trans issues, you were campaigning against civil partnerships for gay people like me. I think you want gay people to repent. I don't know if you still do.
We've been involved right from the beginning on on a number of cases. Teachers are losing their jobs because they.
But I suppose
can we try and keep it focused on the current issue?
What I want to do is, because I think we can get into the weeds of a legal case here, but I think there are different positions on the trans issue. And I think at one side you've got no one can ever be recognised as a gender they move to, whether or not they have surgery, whether or not they have hormones, and whether or not most people in the world would recognise them as a woman. So the Supreme Court judgment, I think, has fallen on the side of people who are aligned with the Christian fundamentalist movement. And that's why I think it's probably going to be difficult to hold.
Or the vast majority of voters who also agree. Lara
So the
Brown,
vast majority of voters don't agree with self-ID.
Can we just bring in Lara Brown?
It doesn't hold. Like, what's interesting about this, the British Attitudes Survey really clearly shows now that the majority of people don't think you can change sex for these purposes. Maybe it's fine to, as a man, dress as a woman, ask for some pronouns. You can't get people fired for it, and you shouldn't be allowed to demand access to single-sex spaces. Why is it so important to a subset of biological men to be in a women's changing room, to be on a women's ward, to be in a women's rape crisis centre? Why is that the fight they are having? Because it seems deeply sinister to me.
Well, I think sinister's a bit unfair. I think what confused this whole debate was the self-ID issue, because I think that where the vast majority of the public have always been is that to become a man or a woman is not to say you're a man or a woman. But I do think that where the public has been for a long time, they might have shifted in the last couple of years or so, but where they were 2 years ago, according to you guys, if someone had had surgery, if someone had had hormones, they were very happy for them to live in the gender they'd chosen.
What changes here, OK? You wake up one morning and you say, I'm actually a woman, versus you go on the government portal and you convince 2 doctors, which Labour want to get rid of anyway, and you get a GRC, then you should be able to access these spaces? I mean, it doesn't seem to me that there's anything that really follows here. And it's not the public think that it's a community thing.
The debate is going to carry on, that's for sure. And thank you to Andrea for telling us about this case. Of course, you can read up online about it. It is absolutely shocking. Thanks to my panel. We're going to be looking at this issue ongoing. We should also say that Epsom and St Helier University Hospitals NHS Trust deny that they are ignoring the guidance. After the break, we're going to be revealing